I believe there's a reason why Misty feels like it flips tails way more than it should. And it's not to do with the game mechanics or that it's being rigged. There is quite literally a mathematical argument why Misty on average is expected to give you less than 1 energy. Welcome back to another Pokemon TCG Pocket video, it's Brovinnie here. Today we are only looking at one card and it is Misty. Now don't get me wrong, I love Misty, she's really good to use for several reasons. It's meta relevant, it's basically attaching extra energies on your Pokemon if you roll the heads. But even better, if I get tails, I'm expecting to lose the game anyway. It just speeds things along, especially for things like events where we're trying to clear more wins. In an otherwise fast-paced card game, Misty makes things go even faster. But what I've seen a lot on social media, be it Reddit or Discord or maybe Facebook groups, is people complaining that Misty is always flipping tails. Heck, even in my own comment section, I've seen people say that Misty is rigged. And I'm here to clear up some misconceptions. Because you might be right to say that Misty, from an energy game perspective, is actually one of the worst. Let me prove it to you with some examples. First, I'm going to assume that you all know how Misty works. If you flip tails, you attach no energy to the Pokemon. If you flip heads, you can flip again until you hit tails, and the number of heads determines the amount of energy attached to a Pokemon. But let's look at a more simple scenario first. If Misty only allowed you to flip the coin one time, a coin flip with a 50-50% chance of landing heads and landing tails, the expected value is 0.5 of an energy. So in a deck of 2 supporter Misties, you only expected to get 1 energy from it, which already doesn't sound very good. Even for a not meta relevant card like Brock can just give you 1 energy. So comparing Misty and Brock, purely from an energy gain perspective, Brock is better. Brock will on average give you 1 energy per turn, or per card. But of course this is the most basic of scenarios, because if we flip heads, well, we can flip another head again with a 50-50% chance. And this is what that would look like. There's a 50% chance of landing 0 heads, 25% chance of landing 1 head, and a 25% chance of landing 2 heads. Another way to look at this is that we've expanded the 1 head and split it into 2. The original scenario actually is Misty with at least 1 head in this row. Not 1 head, but at least 1 head includes 1 head, 2 heads, 3 heads, etc. So what we've essentially done is split up that at least 1 head into exactly 1 head and at least 2 heads probability. The expected value, in other words, how many energies you're expecting to see from multiple use of Misty, is the product or the multiplication of these two numbers, and these two numbers added together, which in this case, where we are only allowed to flip up to 2 heads, is 0.75. So you can see the value of Misty has gone up. Every time you use Misty, we expect to get 0.75 energy, but that's still less than Brock. Now, I'm no mathematician, but even I understand that every time you want an extra head to be flipped, the chance of it happening reduces by another 50%. So you can see here, in order to get 10 heads, this is the probability of it happening, 0.05% chance. Incidentally, the same odds as a rare pack. So the day you hit 10 heads on a Misty, you should go, oh damn, I could have got a rare pack instead. So going back to the expected value, if we do the same thing, how good does Misty become? I've done the same thing and I summed up all of the products of each of the probabilities, giving us an expected value of pretty much 1 energy per Misty card. So now it's starting to sound a little better because it's closer to what Brock would do. Just give 1 energy. Now you should understand that I'm not saying Brock is better, because Brock is very limited in how it can be used. I am simply using Brock as a comparison because it's a very simple mechanic. It just simply attaches 1 extra energy in that turn. But the problem with Misty is that there is no point of summing an infinite series. The most amount of water energy you ever need in one Pokemon is 5, and that's assuming you use Blastoise EX to make full use of Misty. So what we need to do is cut off everything from 5 onwards and just put all of these probabilities back into 5 heads, because 5 is the most we'll ever need. And I'm assuming that that turn you're not adding an extra energy naturally from your energy zone, because if that were the case, you only really need 4, since you can add 1 yourself anyway. In which case, Misty loses a little bit of value and goes down to expecting 0.96 of an energy per turn, or per card. But in my opinion, I don't see a lot of people using Blastoise EX. I personally use Blastoise a lot, but it's not commonly used, compared to the likes of Starmie EX or Articuno EX, which don't have any use beyond 3 energies. So once again, let's cut back to the limit of 3 heads being all you ever need. And now you can see that Misty is only valued at 0.875 of an energy for every time you use the card. In other words, in an energy gain perspective, with a limit of 3 heads actually making a practical difference, beyond 3 heads, there's no practical value of Misty. Misty only has this much value in adding energies. If we compare that to even other cards like Magnezone, which charges itself with 1 energy, and then you can use Lieutenant Surge to apply that energy to your Raichu, or comparing it to Gardevoir, which gives you exactly 1 energy, they all just do it in different ways. Misty loses to them all. One of the best energy gaining mechanics in the game is Moltres EX. Moltres allows you to flip 3 coins, each coin having a 50-50% chance of landing heads. So on average, you would expect to get 1.5 energy per turn, which is about double what you would expect to get from Misty per Misty card. Of course, all of these cards are used in different ways, and there are pros and cons of each of the methods. Like Moltres would actually cost you an attack in order to gain 1.5 energy. Misty would cost you 1 supporter card, so you can't run another supporter card in the same turn. Gardevoir and Magneton require evolutions, so there are pros and cons of each of the method. In this analysis, I am only looking at how much energy is gained per turn or per mechanic. So you can see why there is a misconception about Misty, in that it feels like it should do a lot more, but a lot of the times it can't even give you 1 energy. And with the amount of people posting screenshots like this, it's no wonder that sometimes we really want to see more from Misty, but we don't. Screenshots that show Misty flipping 10 heads makes us want to expect at least 5 whenever we use Misty. But as you know now, we are actually expecting even less than 1. And beyond 3, none of it really matters anyway. Unless you're using Blastoise EX, then 5 makes a difference. So hopefully this video has helped you guys understand that Misty is doing what it's supposed to do. Give you less than 1 energy every time you use it. And despite that, still being meta relevant. Thank you for watching, guys. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and every time you see someone complain about Misty not flipping heads, send them this video, because that's normal.